Hey guys, Tosan here. This is another Q&A, and I'm going to try to blow through this as fast as I possibly can because I'm getting a lot more questions in, and I don't like leaving people out. So let's go. Tony Montana asks, Tosan, are there any little 2D games that you would recommend playing? Like if you got a favorite, I'm talking about games like I Want to Be That Guy, or I Want to Be the Guy, for example. I have no idea what that is, and no, I don't really have any small games I like to play, to be honest. I'm very, I don't know, I like to focus on one thing at a time, usually, I don't like dabbling in this. I usually like to pick one thing and just go with it. Next question, Carter asks, Hey Tosan, I played a warrior to 2500 in Season 8 and played to 2200 blah blah blah. In Season 10 it feels like I cannot get above 2k rating, and mostly because my class can just be swapped out for another class and have a stronger comp. Well, that's kind of how hunters are too, to a degree. Except for the occasional KFC or whatever when that's popular, and Beast Cleave and Wrath of the Lich King. Otherwise, yeah, I mean hunters and warriors are similar in the fact that you can usually take a different class and insert it in the hunters or warriors position and get a better result. But that's just how it happens to be. It sucks, but usually it comes down to if you're better than the players of those other classes, then people will bring you just because you're better. Don't let that bog you down, you know what I mean? Focus on being as good as you possibly can, and people will take you for your skill rather than your class. Sometimes. Maxim Moore asks, I just started playing on my rogue again, and I was playing rogue/feral and rogue/lock in twos, and we were getting wrecked. Are those viable comps still, or should I consider playing with a mage? Let's see, I haven't played Rogue Feral since Burning Crusade, so I have no opinion on that. It's probably decent, but Rogue Lock I know for a fact is not very good because you pretty much automatically lose to any semi-competent other double DPS teams. It's not terrible against healer DPS, but I mean, it's not amazing either. Rogue Mage is infinitely better than Rogue Lock. Rogue Lock is not a comp that can just beat every other comp if you play it right, whereas Rogue Mage kinda is. So, yeah, Rogue Lock is not a very good comp. I definitely recommend playing Rogue Mage instead. Miles asks, I'm a hunter in a newly created KFC team with a Holy Paladin. We are currently having a lot of trouble beating teams like RMP and MLS, or really anything with a mage in it. If you are versing RMP, we usually train the mage, or if we are versing RMP, we usually train the mage, but we just can't seem to get enough pressure out because the warrior is constantly getting kited, and I have both the mage and the rogue training me. If we are versing MLS, it's usually the same deal. What advice/strats do you have against mage teams? If your warrior is getting constantly kited and the rogue is not on him, then your holy paladin really needs to work on dispelling. First off, all freedoms should pretty much be going to the warrior most of the time, unless you are in such a dangerous situation getting trained that you have to get it. But whenever I play with the melee on my hunter, I always give them freedom. Like 95% of the time, I give freedom to the melee that I'm playing with, because that's how you beat mages. If your warrior is spam cleansed and given freedom constantly, there's absolutely no reason that mage should not be ice blocking and dying very early. Because all you gotta do is scatter trap the priest, give freedom to the warrior, and then you guys pretty much rape the mage. That's how it should go. I virtually never lose to mage teams playing hunter, melee, anything. I feel like hunter, melee, anything counters mage. Just give freedoms, and your paladin needs to spam cleanse the warrior, and you should be stomping their asses in, to be honest. Kevin asks, why don't you grow a mustache? Well, Kevin, why don't you grow a beanstalk and climb it to a castle in the sky? What kind of question is that? I'm kind of growing one. A little shaggy, because I'm lazy, and I don't like shaving every day, or every other day. Zecolian asks, big question regarding hunters not being very desirable and easily replaced, much like the previous warrior question. If you're good enough, you shouldn't have many problems finding comps that work right. I mean, I don't have any problems finding comps, and, it also comes down to knowing people that are open-minded. Sometimes you'll get people that read forums too much and say, I don't know, I read on forums that hunters suck, so I don't want to play with a hunter. And, you're going to find those people and they're just ignorant. If you're good enough, though, you'll make people want to play with you regardless of your class's weaknesses. Not in all cases. Sometimes a class is so shitty that nobody wants to play with it, but hunters are not that shitty right now. They just have a pretty high skill cap, and you just have to play it right. But if you play a hunter well enough, people shouldn't be complaining. What do you think about Holy Paladins in Arena, and what do you think is the best 2v2 setup for Holy Paladins? I think Holy Paladins are annoying, because you'll swap to them and you'll get them in a stun into a silence, and they'll come out with 1% health and then shoot up to 80% health pretty quickly. But they're just they're extremely good healers, but they're mostly good against melee-oriented things, like hunters and other. I mean, hunters aren't melee, but you know what I mean. Non-wizards. Holy Paladins are very susceptible to CC, though, is the problem. So, a lot of the time, if you let the enemy wizards CC the crap out of the Holy Paladin, or he has really bad positioning, then they're going to, you know, be completely negated. They have no passive healing like Earth Shield and Riptide, really, you know? I mean, all their healing is active healing. So, if you let your Paladin get into a CC chain, or he, you know, runs out in the middle of the map and gets CC chained really easily, then you're probably going to be screwed. That's their main weakness. Otherwise, they're phenomenal healers. I still think they're a really good healer, you just have to know what their weaknesses are. Oh, and as for 2's comps, you want to play something with you want to play either Holy Paladin Feral, or with a DK, or with a Warrior. Those 3 classes are pretty much the ones that are not reliant on you having CC, because Holy Paladin CC sucks. Alright, now this is a good question. I'm going to try to answer it quickly, though. What separates a bad healer from a good healer, and a good healer from a glad healer? They certainly need a skill set, but no one is really articulate about what it is. That's because it's hard to be articulate about it, to be honest, because it's a lot of things. It's broad, general game knowledge. You have to know all the mechanics in the game, and you have to understand every ability that every class has for the most part. When the gates open and you are fighting X class, and X class, you have to immediately know what to expect from that fight. You're going to say, okay, what CCs do they have that I have to avoid? You know, what am I likely going to have to trinket, and what can I prevent? You know, if there's a mage, you have to immediately think, okay, I'm going to have to dispel novas a lot off of my teammates. I have to watch out for polymorphs, and, you know, try to line of sight polymorph casts, and or shadow or death them if you're a priest or whatever, or if you're shaman, wind shear, etc. You just have to have general game knowledge. But the main thing I will say that I see a discrepancy between good healers and amazing healers is dispelling. Bad healers have a bad priority system. Amazing healers have a great priority system, which puts dispelling right at the top of that priority system. Dispelling should be the #1 thing you do against any classes that are, you know, magic CC oriented anyway. You know, if you're fighting a melee cleave, DK priest for instance, okay, and you have a rogue on your team, right? And you're getting your ass kicked. If he gets feared and you instantly dispel him, well, guess what? He's going to immediately be back on one of those melee peeling them, you know? Rogues can peel a lot. But if your rogue is sitting in CC all day, then you're left to try to fend for yourself, and I'm sorry, but that's just a losing battle. You're only going to last so long being 3v1'd or 2v1'd. Getting your teammates out of CC is the #1 priority, and especially against, like mages, for instance. You have to realize that it's okay if one of your teammates is 60% health if you're keeping pressure on the enemy team. If the mage is being trained so successfully because you're dispelling all the novas and snares off of your teammates, it doesn't matter if your teammate's 60% health, because all that mage can do is ice lance when he's running. If he gets to root your teammate and you don't dispel him out quickly, and the mage gets to cast a shatter, well then the health is going to matter more because you let the mage cast a damn shatter. So, other than obvious things like not standing, you know, dancing in the middle of the field and eating CC like Skittles, spelling priority is the #1 thing I would say that sets amazing healers apart from bad healers. Alright, last question for this video. Wilhelm asks, hello Tosan, I play Restoration Druid now almost since launch, and I can't keep it up in myself to keep playing it because the state of Restoration Druids. Do you think I should just wait it out, or should I reroll another class? Seeing as Druid is my only class I've played, I don't know how to play any other healers or DPS. It really depends on what your idea of fun is, because after all it's a game and the end result is, are you having fun or not? If your idea of fun is winning a lot more and losing a lot less, or breaking a certain rating barrier that you're just not achieving with Resto Druid because of the class weakness, then re-roll. If you have another class you enjoy playing and you're more successful on it, then why not, right? But if you enjoy the Druid class and you can get over the fact that they're weak right now and just try to, you know, strive through the tough times, I mean, Resto Druids are weak for sure. They're easily the weakest healer right now, but they can still succeed. I mean, there's still Druids that are, you know, 24, 2500 plus, you know what I mean? The class is definitely innately weak, but that doesn't mean you can't reach certain, you know, plateaus. The question is, are you, and I'm not sounding insulting because I don't know if this is the reason, but the question is, are you using the weakness of Druids as an excuse to, you know, be like, well, I'm not succeeding right now and therefore I'm not having fun because Resto Druids suck? I mean, have you reached the peak of Resto Druid potential right now and are no longer having fun? Because if not, I'd say if you enjoy the class, stick to it and go as far as you can possibly go with it, because there's a lot of pride involved in being a high-rated Druid right now because they are weak. If you get high-rated on a Druid, it's a lot more satisfying than being high-rated on like a Holy Paladin or a Resto Shaman right now, you know? So it's really a matter of, will it increase your fun to re-roll? I don't know. Depends on what you like. I enjoy playing pretty much every class in this game for different reasons a lot of the time. So I like playing multiple classes, but not everybody does that. A lot of people like to specialize in one and stick to that one. If that's how you are, then just stick to Druid. Anyway, guys, that's it for this Q&A. Thanks for watching and submitting your questions. And sorry to those, again, who don't get their questions answered. I usually try to pick the questions. I'm getting a lot of questions, too many to answer on video. So I am going to prioritize them based on how useful they are to a broad audience. If it's something too specific and too big of a question that takes too long to answer, I don't bother with them just because it's, it's very time consuming and I don't want to waste any time. But, so I apologize, keep submitting your questions, and for those of you who don't know and haven't submitted questions yet, if you want to submit a question, send them to tosantribe@gmail.com, make the topic question, and I prefer the format, put your name, like Tosan asks, etc., insert your name here, not my name. Anyway, thanks for watching as usual, and peace out.